Okay, so I have repaired to the inner sanctum here. I've got some cabling fixed. When we left off here a few minutes ago, we were, not a few minutes ago, it's a couple days ago, we were turning some cases, trying to learn how to turn some cases using a method that I had seen on the internet. Successful, a good method. I had taken a bunch of cases, prepared them as best I could in the shop environment. Typically, for years, many years, I've been getting my cases to fit, taking them out in the yard, blowing them out, fireforming them, then coming back in and doing my turning and my what have you. So, went through a long, involved scenario with the lathe. At this point I need to interject that this show is not for, I mean, if you haven't figured it out by now, I don't know what to say, but this is not for people with the attention span of a gnat. This is more like people with the attention span of one of them lizards over there in Sweden that doesn't move for 6 years. I want you yelling at the TV. I want you to go with me as I learn things like this neck turning procedure. And I want you to be seeing things I'm doing wrong. This show, this is not a YouTube. I'm not a tuber. I'm so far from a tuber that I'm like way on the other end of the stalk going to seed, trying to get some information out. I go through YouTube, it drives me insane because we've got a bunch of well-intentioned people just throwing information around as though it's relevant. Unfortunately, information and relevant are words that mean something to me. I know that there's really been no tech on this planet for 100 years. The only thing that's changed is our dissemination of information. We make incremental steps here and there, but until cold fusion or bending gravity or something real comes along, I'm not impressed. The car that I drive down the road lasts longer than it used to. But I'm sorry, my peeps. The electric car was invented in the 1800s. Get over it. So where I'm going with this is, good information is where you find it, but separating the good information from the bad is really hard. It's something we have to learn as we get older. And I don't want to be imparting information to you. If you're watching these, I have to be really clear. I don't have any answers in this world. I have some things that I've tried. I've got things I'm trying now. I've got things that work, things that don't work, but I do know that on this planet there are 10 people, 50 people maybe at max, who can shoot rings around everybody else. My goal here is to kind of try to not get into the names or the products or anything like that, but to try to teach, to try to pass on what I've learned as to the why of that. There's an expression that gets thrown around in every industry. It's not the arrow, it's not the India arrow, it's the Indian. It's not the bow, it's the Indian. Some iteration of this that somehow the guy pulling the trigger is the most at fault in this. You know what? That's simply not true. You could come to this premise, to my shooting room, which is right on the other side of that door. I could set you down on a gun, never having fired a gun in your life, and you could drill little holes, little tiny round holes. I had my wife down here one time, oh man, years ago, and she said, here, let me try one of those. And I said, you want to try something cool? I've never, she kicks me to the curb with a handgun. The reason for this is she's a woman. The reason for this is because she goes in with no preconceptions, no manly notions of I can do this thing and no. She goes in wanting to learn, doing. So I said, sit down behind the gun, and when I say okay, get ready, shoot. Let's see if we can shoot a group, because I'm going to be watching the wind flags. I'm going to read the wind for you. And she proceeded, of course, to shoot a group that was better than I'd been doing all day. In many cases, it's the gun, people. Many, many matches, talk to anybody who is out there winning, who is in that select category of people who actually do go out, compete, and win. And you're going to find that, in their opinion, most of the guns on the line aren't capable of winning. So what I now know how to buy, know how to maintain, and even now know how to make a gun that's capable of winning. I'm able to go out and compete in venues, and while I don't do it as much as I would or could, I'm not intimidated by anybody on the planet in the 600-yard, 1,000-yard realm. Well, that's not true. There's a couple of those southeastern boys that scare the crap out of me because they're like studying wind, they're like their own private weather station, and they're watching the surges and the coming and the going and weather underground stuff. So that's a level of, I just aspire to that. I admire that. I see it, and I'm like, ooh, okay. So there are a few people that scare me. Okay, I won't say nobody on the planet, but the point is, I can make a gun right now that will compete at 1,000 without half trying. But now, that doesn't mean there's 50 other people that can do it. There's a lot that goes into it, including the brass prep, which is what we're doing right now. Sorry to get off on a rant like this, but my goal here, I'm going to have to sit down and make a whole exposition on why I do this. My goal here is to get your head thinking. When I started into this game, first of all, I went to gunsmithing school because I listened to my guidance counselor, and I could tell you that whole story someday. Thought I knew something about accuracy, met people who knew about accuracy, found out I know nothing about accuracy. So I started learning all over again about accuracy, and I didn't know which questions to ask. I watch YouTube right now, I watch these people sit down, and we're going to have an interview with blah, blah, blah. And they ask a bunch of stupid questions, and they go through, what are the 5 most important things to making a gun shoot? How do you make a gun accurate? If you had, what's the one thing that you would never give? Those are the wrong questions, people. So, this, if you want to call it a channel, this information that I'm putting out here, take it or leave it, is long. Good things are not easy. Good things are not, I'm turning cases. I've got, an hour you've had to sit here watch me screw up turning cases. Turning necks, trying to accomplish something that Jackie Schmidt is doing and doing well with. I'm at a point now where I've if you watched the last video, which you should have if you're here, I've tried a few little things, and have decided that where I'm at is that I'm going to go blow those cases out the way I do it. First of all, I'm going to go make the cases. That's going to do 2 things. First of all, it's going to harden those necks up. I'm fighting with annealed necks and trying to put them on a mandrel, and they're sticky and they're soft and they're stupid, and I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, nobody's happy. So the other thing is it's going to pop the cases out and give them some semblance of linearity. Those cases drive me insane, trying to mash them and mangle them. There's so many places to go. This is so funny. There's some 50 different times in magazines and YouTubers and people all over the place have compared reloading presses. Comparing reloading presses is like comparing bottled water. Who cares? You're just there to hydrate. It's a tool. Whether it tastes better or, unless you're monk, none of it matters. All you're doing, well, we'll get off onto reloading presses. There's just so many places to go, but I just need to be really clear. Some of these odysseys, learning as I go things, are not fast. I'm not here to start slapping you with. This show is called Opinions by Al, but Al's opinions are not easily formed. They're the result of hours and hours and days and years of experimentation. If you want to come along and experiment with me, great. But I want you looking at what I'm doing saying, You idiot. You need to do, when you're cutting brass, you need to grind your cutter this way. You're feeding to, I want you thinking, because in the end, why and what doesn't mean anything. The fact that there's 50 people on the planet that will beat you every time. These people have forgotten more about the guns they shoot than we know. Tony Boyer knows more about the gun. It's not that Tony Boyer's, you give Tony Boyer a crap gun, you give Tony Boyer a normal gun. You bring Tony Boyer, I'm going to say this, Tony Boyer's still alive, so he might call me and say, you're an idiot, which I will welcome. But the point is, if he walks into a match and he has to pick somebody else's gun, in my opinion, most of the time he's going to finish like that. Not like that somebody else, because he's a much better shot, but to make his shots effectual, he must have equipment that's working. He absolutely must have tuned equipment that will repeat and will do what he wants. And that includes the brass. Making brass is huge. How do I say this? Making brass is huge. I can't do it. So, we're going to make this brass. At this point, I'm going to stop what I've been doing. Sorry, wasted your time. Didn't waste my time because I learned something. Hopefully you did too. I'm gonna have to go build a fireform barrel. I'm gonna do a few more things here. I'm gonna build a fireforming barrel using a nutting system that I just thought of. I'll show you a picture of it. We're gonna go fireform that stuff. We're gonna take it out in the yard. We're gonna fire it in the air, and there's so many ways that I can share with you things to do. The thing is, my goal here, I don't have anything to sell. My goal here is for my kids. I really, really do care about this place. I really care that my kids have cool stuff. If their life can be half as cool as mine, it'll be cooler than any other life in history. I've watched everything around us just fall in the toilet. I'm watching England take some of it back. We have to do that. I am very, very passionate about preserving. Hunting is on the decline right now. We have the most healthy game populations. We have the best managed, everything is good. What we're losing is not game. We have more animals than ever, bigger animals than ever. I brought some magazines over to my dad a while back, and he waited about a couple weeks, and he took me aside and he said, Al, are those photoshopped? He's heard of this photoshopping technique. Those aren't real animals, are they? Yeah, Dad, they're real. They're way bigger than they were when you were a kid. Sorry. Better methods, more money. Right now, Pittman Robertson is, we pay 11% on this stuff, guys. We volunteered to pay 11%. We dump it straight into the animal. In Africa, the game is dying because they're trying to keep the hunters. Hunters make animals thrive. Sorry, fishing is the same way. So, what I want this always to be about is about the future. I'm not here to sell something now. I'm not here to get linked in with somebody or sponsored by somebody so I can't say bad things about, that's not my goal at all. My goal is specifically, I want my kids to have a shooting environment. I want this to continue on. I want the American lifestyle. I want the American building this cool stuff. I've done a lot in my life, and it's easy for a guy like me to get bored. I mean, really, but I'm not. I've got 50 things I can do on this channel just to say, hey, check this out, guys. This is what I found out about brakes, about how to letter barrels, about, I don't know, making cases, barreling jigs, wind flags, different methods, different ways. So, I realize this is going to happen a lot, because understand, this is what I do, this is how I live all day. I can be off turning brass, and next thing I know, I've got to go make a barrel to turn brass with, which is what's going to happen now. And I'm going to go slap these necks out. I'm going to harden this brass up. I'm going to, first of all, make those cases into something I can work with. Every time they go on the manual, I'm not happy with the way it's happening. All the years I've spent making good cases, and I'm just messing this up. So, I haven't decided yet whether we're gonna, what I'll probably do, this is a tentative plan, I'll probably go put together a barrel, set up a fireforming jig, a fireforming thing, show you how I can safely fireform without making something that's gonna hurt somebody, how to fireform with using just powder, no bullet. I was gonna shoot these conventionally. I haven't fireformed conventionally on a bench rest style rifle for I bet 20 years. I forgot how retarded it is. So, I'm going to shut this down, and next time you see me, we'll be talking about something else. I mean, it'll be connected, but I don't know which way this little odyssey is going to go. Probably my favorite cartoonist in the world is Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes. Just reading some of Bill's stuff the other day. I mean, I am anal enough that I watched the movie about him and would read a book about him writing Calvin and Hobbes. I own every Calvin and Hobbes that's ever come out, plus all the stories about it. And I was just reading the other day about Bill Watterson saying he starts a panel of cartoons. This is the creative process. He starts a panel of cartoons, sets Calvin and Hobbes, his tiger, into a situation, and then stands back and watches what happens and draws it and enjoys it just like you and I do. This is the guy making the cartoon, folks. Doesn't even know where it's going to go. Well, that's how my day is every day of my life. We're going to start places, we're going to go different places. All I'm saying is if you want to drag along, you're welcome to it.